Yo, guys, I hope you're well. So, guys, I keep saying that there is no such thing as coincidence. And I've been trying to pinpoint a connection between what this government is doing about closing our bank accounts down and aiming us into a cashless society and the connection with the introduction of a digital ID card, the BritCard. Well, I just got a reply today from a Ms. Elfdy. Is that right? Ms. Elfdy. And this person is quoting Jeremy Thomas, who's a sales director of the ANZ, which is at Unisys, corporate development, blah, 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 blah. That person has said that in Vietnam's recent actions serve as a cautionary tale for the whole world. The Vietnamese government imposed a digital ID system with biometric scanning for all bank accounts. And that resulted in the closure of 86 million accounts and the seizure of all assets within them without consent. Remember that, without consent. So overnight, millions of individuals found themselves financially erased for prioritizing privacy over submitting to state surveillance. So apparently this was off of LinkedIn. I don't know exactly when it was, but this must have been over the last 18 months or so. So I'm going to do more digging into this because I've always felt that there is a connection between why this government is forcing us into digitalization, especially taking the banks off of our streets and making us use apps and etc., to try to access our own money, the money which is ours. Really? So anyway, guys, I've just gone on site here. I've only looked at this in the last few minutes, and I'm just going to read you a piece here, but I'm going to do much more digging into this because I remember something that happened about 12 or 15 years ago. Do you remember the Cyprus banks that was shut down for a week or 2 weeks and no one had access to their money? And when they eventually came back up, people lost money through the Cyprus banks. Guys, if it can happen once, it will happen again. And I always say that before these weird things happen, they always test it out in the field first. They do a little test just to see the action and the reaction. Trust me, I'm going to go back and look into that Cyprus incident. But anyway, this, guys, is from Camshore, and they're talking about the State Bank of Vietnam, the SBV, that has deactivated over 86 million bank accounts. And apparently this was only published a couple of days back on the 22nd of September. So guys, we'll just do a quick brief overview of this and then I will dig into this and let you know later on. So guys, number one, Vietnam's State Bank of Vietnam has initiated a significant data cleansing. Data cleansing, that's just erasing people's data, if you want to say that. Actually, data cleansing is meant to make data more efficient and more accessible and more visible. But in this case, I don't think so. Anyway, so they've done a data cleansing effort and it's deactivated over 86 million bank accounts in Vietnam as part of a national push for biometric verification. Two, this initiative stems from Project 06, which is a government project launched in 2022 to develop a unified digital identity system. Ring any bells? With a goal of full implementation by 2025 and a vision extending to 2030. Three, the goal is to create a cashless society. Where have you heard that before? Reduce fraud. Where have you heard that before? And align with international standards, such as those established by the OECD and the BIS, which is the Bank for International Settlements. Four, with a population of approximately 101 million, Vietnam had roughly 200 million bank accounts before this, many of which were inactive, duplicates, or used for scams, really, resulting in around 113 million personal and 711,000 organizational accounts remaining active after verification. So guys, they're complaining because Vietnam has 200 million bank accounts for approximately 101 million people. Guys, what's wrong with having more than one bank account? What's wrong with having more than one bank account? What's wrong with having bank accounts open for your children? So they are looking into this thinking, okay, there's 101 million Vietnamese people. Why are there double the bank accounts? Guys, there's always a reason. And it doesn't necessarily mean corruption or fraud. These people are really beginning to get me angry already. Anyway, I'm just going to quickly go through this and then I'll call off and I'll do some more investigation. So I'm going to quickly just try and summarize what I'm reading here. So it's first I'm seeing it. So please forgive me if I stumble over some words because I'm just fuming at the moment. So the SBV deactivated over 86 million bank accounts, and this was part of a national data cleansing campaign to ensure that all active bank accounts are linked to verified biometrically authenticated identities. So with Project 06, the goals were to develop a unified digital identity system for all citizens and achieve full implementation by 2025 with a long-term vision for 2030. The aim was for a cashless society, fraud reduction, and global standards. So here in the UK with the BritCard, they're saying that a national identity card is going to lead to less fraud. It's going to lead to on a work basis. So they're not looking at the bank side of things, although they are. Trust me on that, they are. But on a work basis, they're saying, oh, if you haven't got a BritCard, you're not going to be able to work because we're not going to be able to verify you. So do you remember I said there's no such thing as coincidence? So what this country is doing under Keir Starmer is saying this BritCard is going to be used to verify whether or not you're legal to work in the country. Haha, no. The real reason they're using this BritCard is to attach it to everyone's bank accounts, because what they're going to do at some point is have some incident with the banks where the banks are going to suddenly shut down. And you know what? When the banks reopen, we'd have lost part, a huge chunk, or even potentially all of our money. So once our money is digitized and it's on this system and they've removed cash from society, they have control over everything. So they'll have control over our finances, our money, and they'll have control over whether or not we are able to work. Because without a BritCard, well, I think you'll be able to do neither. Because if you look at the Vietnamese case, without a national identity card, they shut down people's access to their banks. Because if people said, I don't want a national ID card to access my bank, they just shut them down and kicked them off and took their money. Wow. Wow. So I'm just reading down here. I'm just going to let you guys see for yourself and hopefully read at your own leisure what's going on here. There's quite a lot to go through. So I'm just a quick point here. What happened to the accounts? So after the activation process, accounts lacking biometric data. So remember, if you haven't got the ID, and this was linked to chip-based ID cards. They were flagged via cross-checks with the national database. And they were, so 117 million records, they removed 86 million, didn't they? So access was denied. People's fund status, just looking through this, who was affected. So the reasons were fraud prevention, digital transformation, and I'm just looking at the criticisms. So privacy advocates decry. It was a biometric gulag. A gulag is a jail. It's a Russian jail, isn't it? A gulag. And it forced data harvesting for surveillance. So data harvesting again. People like Bitcoiners, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. So I'm just going to summarize this. In my view, I'm just going to quickly go on to what happened with Cyprus. So in March 2013, Cyprus imposed strict capital controls and closed its banks for over a week to prevent a bank run following massive losses from investments in Greek government debts. And it led to a bailout, blah, 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 blah. Background and causes. Okay, what was the impact on banks and customers? So the bank closure banks remain closed to prevent a mass withdrawal of funds by panic depositors. So if we all go together on Monday and take all our money out of the banks, what's going to happen? They imposed capital controls. So when banks were reopened, strict capital controls were put in place to limit the outflow of cash. So they limited the amount of money you could withdraw from your own accounts and money transfers out of the country. And there were losses for savers. So depositors with more than 100,000 euros in the Bank of Cyprus were forced to take a significant, it says a haircut on their deposits, losing a substantial portion of their savings. So guys, this is what I think is going to happen. So this BritCard that's going to be introduced, and what they're saying is it's going to fight migration, immigration, illegal migration, illegal immigration, blah, blah, blah. I think there are 2 points for this BritCard. One, it is to funnel us into a position where they have access to all of our bank accounts and bank details. And the second half, they're talking about if you haven't got a BritCard, no national ID verification, you won't be able to gain employment. But what that is all about is control, because the national ID card is going to control everything that we do. So whether it's our banking and our savings, and it's going to control everything to do with our health, and they'll be able to survey everything that we do. So it's all about control. And if they have the access to our accounts and our details, they can literally switch us off anytime they want, because I am predicting there's going to be a run on the banks anytime soon. And this government is going to claw back billions, if not trillions of pounds from our accounts, and we will have no redress because they'll say there's some issue that happened. So guys, this is very, very serious, because I think they are planning to steal our money. Guys, let me know down here in the comment section what you think. I think this is more serious than I thought in the first place. They are planning to steal our money and planning to keep us under the thumb. It doesn't rain, it pours. Anyway, guys, I will see you at the next one. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and be careful.